Okay, hi everybody. This is Jenny,
I'm Jess.
and this is a walk in the woods at midnight where we take some time to kind of like walk through and review horror films that we cheat a little bit. We kind of pick ones that we know are going to be good in advance, but a lot of times,
You do? I didn't know that.
we just don't want to waste your time or ours. But that's
Oh, okay.
but we do try to review them fairly and let you know kind of the scare factor and stuff like that. And these movies are all just available. They should be easily and readily available to you on platforms like Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Hulu. So this week we watched.
The Woman in Black, which I wanted to see for a long time.
Yeah, yeah. I had seen this like maybe a couple of years ago, and it's based on. It was released in 2012 by a director named James Watkins, and it's based on a book by Susan Hill, which was released in 1983. So this was a play for a while. It was an adaptation of the book. And it was a play, and it was very, very popular in London. And I think, in fact, that it's just now closing since it began its run. Don't quote me on that, but I think that that's kind of what I was finding when I was trying to dig in a little bit. But
Yeah, there was a local production of it here in Washington, D.C.
oh, okay, got
Yeah,
it.
so it must be, now that I'm putting the pieces together, it must be a really popular play.
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, and I haven't, and I hadn't heard of it, before. Although I'm not super active in the theater scene, so it's probably stands to reason. But apparently, it was a very successful, well done play that stuck around for a long time, and probably continues to stick around in other places. So it is. Let's see. So it basically. It was after it was a play, or I guess while it was a play, they did one TV adaptation of this on British television, and that was really well received. So,
Hmm.
come what was it, 2012, they decided to bring this to film, um, and I believe it was Daniel Radcliffe's first film after Harry Potter.
Okay.
He had been in a lot of different, he had been in in several plays, I think, after he had completed the Harry Potter series. So we'll talk a little bit about that and his role and his, acting a little bit. But it was also released around the same time as The Orphanage, which was, I'm trying to remember his name.
Orphan.
It's really, really so good. Del Toro.
Oh,
Guillermo del Toro. Yeah, I'm almost positive he's the director of that. So good.
No, wait.
Um,
Is that the same movie as The Devil's Backbone?
oh
Or is that a different movie?
no, that's a different movie. I think, you know what? I'm calling it the wrong thing. Yeah, so it was the Orphanage. Is that what I said? There
Yeah.
was another one out at that same time, also called The Others. Both of which I thought
Oh,
were.
The Others is so good.
Yeah, isn't it?
That is such a good
It
movie.
was shockingly good.
Yeah.
So this is, I kind of like, these kind of get a little bit smushed together because they're about children and loss and a lot of stuff like that. So I kind of would kind of look at those and put them together. I think they're also all period pieces
Yeah.
too. This one is actually set in, I think it's Victorian England.
They just came out with the car because
Oh
The
yeah.
main rich guy in the village has a car, but it's mostly horse and buggy.
Yeah. Yes.
Um, so what would that make it, like 1910 or 15, 1915 maybe? No,
Probably.
that would have been in the middle of World War One. So
Okay.
probably prior to World War One, I would guess.
Okay. That sounds right. And it's basically about, just the plot wise, it's basically about this young lawyer, played by Daniel Radcliffe, and he has lost his wife. We meet him after his wife has already passed. He is still, I think that she died in childbirth, and his kid's got to be like 3, maybe. Would you say 4?
Yeah, four. So I would say, yeah.
Okay. So he's clearly, and so she died in childbirth, and it's been a good 4 years, and he's still kind of falling apart.
Yeah.
So we see him go into his boss's office, and the boss is saying, look, here's a sort of a last chance. What we want you to do is go way out to the country. There's this big house. So the person who lived there recently died. We need you to go through all of her papers and, figure out what can be sold, what can't, what's whatever. So he goes out there. When he enters the town, everyone is really like, go back, go home, and you don't kind of find out why until a little bit later. But he enters the house, which is absolutely so creepy, and it's a real house. It's a 17th century mansion, and it's called Cotterstock Hall.
So
And
that is a real house that's along the ocean or whatever there, where the tides come in and cover up the road and stuff.
you know what? I don't know if that was added or if
Oh,
that
okay.
is how it is. And I cannot remember, because I know that I looked that up, but it was a week ago and I can't remember. But I
No, that's
do know
okay.
that it was up for sale in 2014, and it was £2,150,000. So,
I could afford that. I should
so
have bought that house.
easy. Yes. So you can go way out to the middle of nowhere in a really boggy
Live in that
area.
haunted house. That was cool. That was a really cool
It
house.
was a really cool house, and it was like, they showed photos of it, and obviously it's made up to be like super creepy, and they used all of these like colors of decay, like dark purple and dark red and black and brown and
Yeah.
green color. But when you actually see the house, and you should be able to go online and look at it, they have photos of the interior and everything, and it's actually breathtaking. It's so beautiful. So he goes out to what is in real life Cotterstock Hall, but in this, I forgot what it's called. So, and he's in there, and he's hearing weird noises. He's like, there's something going on, and he can't quite figure it out. He's definitely someone who, just like in our last film we reviewed with John Cusack,
Oh yeah.
Room
1408.
Yes, yeah. He or was it 1403? 14?
I think it was 1408.
1408.
Check.
Okay, good. So in that one, he was really looking for proof of the afterlife.
1408 it was.
1408, nice. So he was really looking for proof of the afterlife, and he eventually found it. And in this one, you can tell that the main character really is looking for that same thing, particularly because I think he misses his wife so much, and he's really just sort of very attached to this idea that she's somehow still there. So he's sort of simultaneously freaked out and scared, but also a tiny bit hopeful, which makes this a little bit interesting, I think. But throughout the film, he's having difficulty having people getting like having them take him out there to this home, and like when to do it. It's like it's basically locked, like water locked or whatever.
Yeah.
For several hours in the day while the tide comes in and goes out. And so he's finding out as he's getting to know the residents, or more like one particular resident who is this successful, I don't know if he's a businessman or dilettante or what, but he's got he's lost a child, and a lot of people in the town have lost children. And he's starting to put together why, that it has something to do with this house and this sort of curse that's on this house. So I think that's do you think we should, I don't know if there's any more to kind of go on than that. I mean, I guess we could say, because it's probably, you'd see this in the trailer, there is in fact an angry spirit in the house.
Yeah, you definitely see that in the trailer.
Yes. And so
that's what made me want to see the movie, was that one scene in the trailer where like Daniel Radcliffe's looking out the window, and all of a sudden you see this apparition like right next to him.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to see that movie.
Yes. Yeah. So it's so and that is that evil presence. And we find out as he's looking through the paperwork that this woman had lost a son in.
Wait, now we're getting into spoiler territory, so we better.
That's okay. We'll stop there.
Okay, we'll say that spoilers start at 11:55. Okay, so the house is haunted by this vengeful spirit.
Yes.
Who blames previous tenants of the house for the loss of her child that was taken from her because she was a little nutty.
Mm-hmm.
And the
or
child,
at least the sister,
right,
made it seem that way. Although
right.
she does seem unbalanced in the afterlife for sure.
Right.
But
the sister made it seem like that they were taking the child because the other sister couldn't take care of the child properly, and so it turns out she hung herself, and now the reason why, bless you,
thank you,
the reason why I didn't put it together until late in the movie. I'm not real quick on these things, but why people didn't want to see Daniel Radcliffe, especially see him go out to the house, because whenever somebody sees the ghost, a child dies.
Yeah.
Or children. So that's why they didn't want Daniel Radcliffe to go out to the house, because they knew he'd see the ghost, and they knew that meant that somebody's child was going to die. And there's all kinds of families that have been affected by this ghost throughout the years since this has happened. I guess it happened in the late 1800s. And so I really felt it was played up really well, because I couldn't figure out why they were treating him that way. And they did a good job of making it seem like they were just cranky old townspeople and not friendly. And then I finally figured out, like about 3/4 of the way through, why they were that way. It's because they were afraid, and they knew that she is a vengeful ghost, and she will come steal one of your children if somebody spots her. And he spots her a bunch of times at this house.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, what's interesting too is, and I thought this was kind of a cool twist, is that at the end, when because the sister had taken the child from this woman who is now this angry spirit, the son who was taken from her by her sister drowned in this in like an accident when they were trying to make it over the water to the home in time when the tide was in. And so Daniel Radcliffe basically goes out into the water to try to find the son, which he does quite easily, but whatever. And then pulls him out of the bog or whatever, and brings him upstairs to where the mother hung herself. And so he's sort of like, okay, now this will quiet her and we'll all be okay. And it'll be in enough time for my son to come visit me, because that's pending. And you're kind of like freaking out over that, because if his son sees him, the son is going to die, because he's, Daniel Radcliffe has seen this ghost.
Yeah, a bunch of times. And it's really effective. There were lots of good jump scares in this movie to me. Because I think the timing and the music are always what's critical in a movie like this. When the music is slow, and then it starts ratcheting up, and then it gets to that sort of feverish pitch, and something's going to happen with the empty room, and then all of a sudden something happens right there. And there were lots of rooms in this old house that he needed to explore and find papers in. And he was constantly finding clues finding clues as to what happened to not the woman who died and his papers he was going through, but to, I guess, the previous tenants, the husband and wife whose sister they had committed. But he's putting all these clues together, and the longer he stays in the house, he of course does the one dumb thing that always happens in these horror movies. He says, "I'm going to work through the night in the house." So he stays up all night in the middle of nowhere by himself, with a dog for protection. And so that's, there's always something dumb happening in one of these movies that gives the protagonist plenty of chances to get mauled or whatever.
Right.
So to me, I thought there was a lot of good jump scares. I love it when that scene that got me was in the trailer where he's looking out the window. You see an exterior shot of him looking out the window, and then suddenly there's a ghost right next to him, and he's not even aware of it. That's the kind of stuff that just makes the hair on my arms stand up, and I just go, ah. I really love that kind of stuff. That's how I like to be scared by ghosts. That, you turn around and they're not there, and they were just, even though they're not there, they're there. And
right.
I love
and
that.
You just missed them, and it's like, really, yeah. I think there were some of those scenes that were really effective. I think also seeing the woman who had hung herself, this mother who was committed, I think that was really effective as well, and genuinely scary.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, I mean, and again, this is another weird thing that I'm going to tie back to last week's 1408, right?
Correct.
So to that film, which is, it all comes down to, it's largely dependent on the acting of a single person.
Oh, right.
He's alone all the time, just like John Cusack's character was alone all the time. John Cusack being alone all the time was incredibly effective. He was amazing. I guess I didn't understand like his range before.
Right.
but he really, and he just gave it everything, and you could, and there was nothing, it was pure emotion. And for me, what I saw was Daniel Radcliffe almost acting as Harry Potter. I was willing to sort of divorce him from that role because I've never been, I haven't really seen those movies for a long time, and I've not, but he had that kind of issue that I think a lot of child actors have,
Yeah.
which is like he wasn't using everything. He was just sort of like, I could see the same sort of expressions and faces that he used in Harry Potter, which maybe were effective then as a child, but some of these things that they would rely on as children to act are in fact different, and you don't even know if these kids can act at that age and basically act
Right.
into adulthood, or almost adulthood. But with this one, it didn't hit it for me, because I think that if there would have been someone who was a little bit more seasoned but younger, like young also, because this was supposed to be a young character, I think that it would have been better. I understand why they did it. I probably made a lot more money than if you would have released it with a British actor who was possibly better but less known, maybe. But yeah, it didn't hit the mark for me because of that. I think and the characters who were played by British actors were incredible. And it was almost like seeing them next to some of those actors made it all the more clear that he was a little bit too amateur or green as an adult actor to handle the role. I don't know. Maybe that's what I'm thinking. But
Okay.
yeah, that's kind of that was the main issue that I had, because I thought about how fun that would have been with someone who was really deep and intricate and like really had like a great grasp on, like he has his eyes are incredible, and now that he can get that hair that bangs out of his face, use them, like use your expressions, and guys. So anyway, I don't know, but
Well, that is a significant issue if you have a problem with the main actor's acting, because it is his film, as you say. There's lots of scenes where it's just him,
yeah,
in the house alone and exploring with just a candle, all these rooms, and there's lots of scenes where it's just him. So yeah, I can see how if you weren't pleased with his acting, then the overall effect of the movie, it would impact your feelings on the overall feeling of the movie then.
right. Yeah, and I think it was such a character study, and I know that there are a lot of sequels with this that I don't think he's involved with at all, but they set it up well for that and everything. But to me, this first one as a standalone is really about the character development of this particular character. It's sort of like he's I didn't really get, aside from outside clues, how curious he was about, the afterlife, and like wanting to somehow know that he would join his wife again. And there were all of these little things that I think I figured out based on what was going on around him, but that he could have done so much with. So
Yeah.
sorry, Harry Potter.
Well, I learned that I don't know if this qualifies, but room 1408 qualifies. You may already know this. The term 1408 is called a bottle film.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. I think I knew that because it's one, it's sort of like a self-contained,
Yeah,
almost like one setting,
yeah. That's what
almost.
my friend called it. He said it was a great bottle film. 1408 was, and I said, "It's a what now?" And he said, "Bottle film." And I go, "Oh," and I figured it out from there. And if he had Harry Potter, I mean, Daniel Radcliffe had uh, interactions with the townsfolk for this to have been a bottle film, but he did have a lot of scenes alone in the house, um, and the townspeople all seemed what I like about European and British actors and stuff is that I don't know any of them. I'm not familiar with them, and so they all seemed like real villagers to me.
Hmm.
They
Hmm.
seemed quite genuine to me, and I like the twist that the squire's wife that lost the child ended up
Yes.
being um, channeling her lost son.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
was cool
Yes.
that it happened. Uh, the other cool thing was I thought the ending was a surprise. It wasn't a big shock, but I mean, obviously the ending was going to go either one of two ways.
Mhm.
But I was surprised that they did it. Um, but now that I know there's a bunch of sequels, I guess I'm not surprised that they
Yeah.
sort of finished it off that way. Um,
They always got to fill it off, finish it off with the monster because they want they want that green.
yeah. Speaking of sequels, I have heard that we should watch The Conjuring 2 is supposed to be really good.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I was surprised at that, but it's got the same actors as The Conjuring 1, and then one of the other sequels. I don't. I mean, there's like 8 movies in that Conjuring franchise or something.
Yes. Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
Conjuring 2, and then there's one other one, maybe the second Annabelle film or some other film in there. I'll find out. But
Mhm.
we're supposed to watch that according to my film buddy Lou. He said that those are actually really good. And he's
We got
pretty,
to watch
pretty
them.
picky about his horror movies, so um I just
Then we'll add those to the
yeah,
list because I think The Conjuring is one of my most favorite. I don't think it's perfect by any stretch, but I think it's one of my most favorite fun like horror films that I
yeah,
was genuinely scared by.
yeah.
And so yeah, yeah.
So were you not scared in this because of Harry Daniel Radcliffe and his Harry
Daniel
Potter
Radcliffe
shit?
forever. He's going to be Harry Potter.
I know, poor
Um,
guy, but I mean, I didn't mind it, so I was genuinely scared through some of these scenes and the jump scares. But was it enough to take you out of the movie and make you less scared on some of the things?
it was a little bit, yeah, it sort of did take me out of it. So I didn't find it to be as scary because I was always aware that I was watching a movie. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I was
cool.
always like that with Tom Cruise films. I'm like, oh, the entire time I was never in the world. I'm always like, I am watching Tom Cruise acting now or trying to act now. And I
Right.
had that same, and it certainly wasn't that bad, but I mean, it was like, it was difficult to really just sort of relax and believe it, you know? And like I said, especially next to some of those British actors who are so accomplished,
Yeah.
you know? And one thing that I have to say that I thought you were going to say about European films, and particularly with British films, is that um, the acting is so good because I feel like in the US, it's like the top requirement for an actor is not acting, it's being beautiful or
Right.
handsome or whatever. If
Right.
you are beautiful and handsome and you have talent, then great, then then you're allowed. But it's like in Britain or some other, not all, but some other European films, it's really, and stage, productions, really it comes second or not at all. Acting, like the ability to act, and going to like these institutions where you study Shakespeare excessively and you really dig in and they really know what's going on a deeper structural level. It's like damn.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that is a really good point.
It's always interesting to me because you really can look and go, oh, like a British horror movie is, sort of like, I don't know, whatever it is, it's more of a reflection on life. And some US films are that same way, but a lot of times it's a young, nubile, beautiful girl in a tank top running from a slasher. I mean, that's not fair probably to make that general comparison, but there are a whole lot more tank topped, hot, young girls running from monsters in American films. I would venture to say.
I think you're 100% right. Yeah. But I don't, those aren't the kind of films that I care for. I'm not a slasher fan, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
As opposed to maybe something deeper and a little more challenging intellectually from a European movie.
Right. And I think that it's getting better. I think that we're definitely taking a page from their book, and some of the films that are like have been stunningly good. Like what's the one with Toni Collette that we watched? It's like my favorite, Hereditary.
Oh, Hereditary, yeah.
That is probably my favorite. That's one of my favorite films ever, I think. Probably.
Yeah,
and
I love that.
Yes. And so I feel like that was such a deep, complex film.
Right.
And, so that was very exciting to me that came out of the US, because we can point to that and go, huh? Not too bad. I have a friend who lives in Belgium, and we always kind of talk about language and art and some, different things like along these lines. And so whenever we get whenever I'm pointing to something, like American, that's really strong, it's fun, we just joke around, but
that is funny. So I would recommend this because I was able to get past his Harry Potterishness and get fully invested into the jump scares, and I was scared plenty of times. So I liked it, and I was scared by it, and I was surprised by a couple of twists in it. So I give it I liked it enough to suggest that you watch it. But Jenny
says maybe skip this one. I wouldn't say it's a hard no, but I would say like it's not super original, and it's not super, and it's, like I said, some of the his acting, like he's not blossomed to me in this film, at least. He hadn't kind of blossomed into like an adult actor who's capable of something that is like really, really deep. So I would say maybe take a pass on this one. Okay. But you know what? If it's on cable and you're on the couch, don't turn it off. Watch it for a while.
That reminds me of a Simpsons episode where Homer was watching something on TV and it was awful, and he was like, "What? I don't want to see this." And the remote was like 1 inch too far from his hand. Like,
yeah.
Okay, I'll watch this. He wouldn't even lean to get it. He goes, "Okay, whatever, I'll watch this."
Oh my God.
Okay. So we decided that we're gonna watch Shudder then next week.
Yes, yeah. So we're gonna watch, and I think, I can't remember, but I think that there is an American version and a Thai version, right?
Thai is the original version, yeah.
Thai is the original version, and so we'll watch the Thai version,
And
right?
that's on Netflix, yeah.
And that's on Netflix. So you guys can watch, and then you know, you'll let us know what you think too.
Yeah, this is one of the few times where we actually have it figured out well ahead of time.
I know. I feel this is we are so successful. I can now just watch this tomorrow. Get some notes down on it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I'll wait until 6 a.m. Saturday morning to watch it.
Whatever works, you know, whatever keeps it fresh.
So thank you to my co-host Jenny for her excellent analysis as usual and her opinions and thoughts. And thank you to you viewers for watching. This is always a great way to spend Saturday, I think, is talking about scary movies. I
agree.
So it's a lot of fun. So thank you for joining us. And we always appreciate your thoughts and comments. So let us know in the comments what you think. And peace and love. Peace and love. Thank you.